ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य मआणिस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words, and actions. May the truths of the scriptures be revealed unto me. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Each of us is potentially divine. That is what the sages and scriptures tell us. Let us feel that divine core of our being, the unchanging, ever-present, beyond time and space, and yet pervaded in everything. It is of the nature of luminous consciousness. Let us feel it lighting up our whole personality. We will go beyond this erroneous awareness that I am this heap of flesh, blood, and such material things. I am the luminous consciousness. I can see that. And thus I can see I am universal. I am bliss itself. I don't need anything to become happy, for I am happiness. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin today's discussion on this great biography of Sri Ramakrishna, the divine in human form, by reciting our opening prayers. तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते भूरिदा जनाः. So for last two classes we were reading about and thinking about why did Sri Ramakrishna entered into matrimony, and all the commonly understood thoughts about it, that that might be because of the pressure of the relatives, parents and so forth, or it may be because earlier he might have the desire to have physical enjoyments, and so he married at that time, and later on he developed the spirit of renunciation. Or some may say that it is just because of the what is called prarabdha karma, that it is the residual karma or residual portion of your work from the last birth, which is now prone to bear the fruits. Now that residual part of your karma has now you have to go through, and that is why that person like Sri Ramakrishna, though there is no desire, had to get married. And it is well, our Millie has problem with her hearing aid. So anyway, It is those who have ears, let them hear. Mm. It is thus we see that these all uh, ways of understanding are not correct as per we see the facts. Uh, so what is the reason that he married for? And today we shall continue this discussion, and hopefully we'll be able to finish this discussion coming to a conclusion. Last time we saw that it is page 465 that we had read last time. Let us, just to connect, let us read a part of it again. That the purpose of a Hindu marriage is to attain renunciation through enjoyment following scriptural laws. That it is, the scriptures teach us at every step that wedlock is not meant for enjoyment only. We are constantly reminded that Hindu marriage has its goal following the edict to maintain God's creation and begetting virtuous children, thereby benefiting society. Do the Hindu scriptures then maintain that there should be no self-interest in marriage? No, they say no such absurd thing. It is I think her hearing aid is not working. Yeah, so no. I don't know. There may be some, right under the speaker. It may help. It is, it is loud enough, more loud than as usual we have. So, anyway, so Swami Saradananda here maintains that how our scriptures say that our marriage is not just for physical enjoyment, because obviously one can go on indulging in physical contact even without the ceremony of marriage. It is not that one has to enter a wedlock for that purpose. You don't need scriptures basically to tell you now you have physical contacts. Now even if the scriptures don't tell you to eat, are you not going to eat? You are going to eat whether scriptures tell you to eat or not. So what scriptures tell you, in just as in case of eating, that okay, eat this, don't eat this, fast from time to time, and so forth, so that your eating instinct is put under some controls. Otherwise, it will go all uncontrolled as it happens in society. So there are some injunctions to control it. To eat, scriptures don't need to tell you to eat. Similarly, to have the sexual connection, the scriptures don't tell you to do that. Your instinct will make you do that automatically. What scriptures tell you is to control it so that on one hand you get some enjoyment. Also, you get this continuation of creation through begetting children. Also, you gradually understand the futility of it, and thus you develop renunciation and give up the attachment to that kind of enjoyment. So, therefore, marriage, if properly followed according to the scriptural injunctions, is expected to lead human being to a gradual course of renunciation. That is the purpose of marriage. So, if there is this instinct, naturally there is nothing wrong in having it. It is there in all people. So now that instinct, if it is allowed to run unbridled, then you see it can cause havoc in personal life and in community social life too. It is, therefore it has to be put under control, and by controlling, what happens? That energy, that force gets a higher direction. Like you have the boiler. Now the steam coming from the boiler, if it is just allowed to fritter uncontrolled, then you can't get anything done by it. So it is put under pressure. It is there are pipes. It is not allowed to escape as such, so that it builds adequate pressure, and then through that pressured, controlled steam, you can get many different things done. So this theme of the sexual instinct, through marriage, it is given a controlled channel where, just like the valve in a boiler, so it keeps on releasing it when the pressure goes too much. So, but it keeps it under check. So, this is what is happening when a spiritual practice is done. It is actually, there is no other force like the Raja Yoga and other sciences tell us that it is the one force. Now, if you fritter it away in so-called enjoyment of the world, nothing will be left for the spiritual upliftment. Your consciousness will just get or remain glued to this transitory world and thereby suffer. This is the only cause of suffering in the world, that we get attached to the transitory things. Our enjoyment depends on availability of those things and getting those things. Now what happens? The truth is truth. You cannot change the truth by your ideas, your imagination. The truth is truth. So what happens? The objects that you get glued with for enjoyment, those objects being transitory, and the body through which you are going to enjoy, both that also is transitory. It just goes away, even though you try frantically to hold on to it. And that is pain. That is and this brings that suffering, to try to hold on to that which by its very nature is transitory. So, the marriage teaches us Those who do not have that instinct so powerful, they can keep it under control. They therefore do not get into wedlock and focus on getting that power just to what is called to arouse the Kundalini. It is. That is a technical word. What it means is that power is used to push our awareness upwards. Upwards means the more and more finer and finer layers of our awareness, they get opened up as we rise, and higher levels of joy also become then available to us. So, as the Kundalini rises, we see so many changes in consciousness come, and then as it comes to the what is technically called as the level of heart, then you can see that your goal is to realize God. You can clearly see this, and then Kundalini rises up where it needs then a big leap. Lot of power is needed. It is, if you want to say, push a huge 5-ton weighing boulder, then it will not move, you have to push that with that much power. So, and if it is to be moved upwards, then you have to work against gravity. So much more power needs to be exerted to push it up. So, it is the control of this power that we have which gets frittered away in various enjoyments which get concretized or synchronized, let us say, in what is called sexual activity. Now, that needs to be transformed. If you cannot do it, just instantaneously by self-control, okay, learn gradually. That is the purpose of the marriage as such, as per the Hindu scriptures. That if it is told, no, don't go for that enjoyment, most people will not be able to follow that idea, and thus they will not take up the ideal at all. But therefore it is told, okay, control it. Control it. It is one of the psychological methods is okay, that suppose somebody wants to eat something, or these days the children they want a video game, buy some game. So it is now it is they want it now. And if you tell no, you cannot have it, that is not going to work. They will throw tantrums, they will create, they will make your life impossible. It is just on the last, that Saturday, Durga Puja day, there were two little girls who wanted to just go and play. I told them, no, watch that Durga Puja video, come on, watch. So I held them and then said, no, please, after 3 minutes the patience was over, So it is, no, we want to go, it is, and it is okay, we will watch from that, from the children's slow room, and we will play and watch, compromise, And I said, no, no, watch. No, please, please. Both started shouting in my ears. And then I had to say, okay, go. Otherwise, they were creating noise for everybody else. So, okay, go. So, that is how they won't listen. If you tell no, they won't listen. So what many parents, they learn to use this trick, that okay, day after tomorrow or next week, let's have it next week. Right now, I don't have that much money to buy it, and then next week, the prices are going to come down, so we will buy next week. How about that? You are a wise boy, you are a good boy, can't you wait till then? Eh? And then the boy says that okay, rather than not having it or having to put fight for this, let me wait for some days. So that is a technique, a psychological technique. So like we grown-ups also have our own toys, So we crave for those. Now tell mind, you are seeking enjoyment, but not now. Wait. If you say no, then it will not listen. But if you say, okay, wait for a little time, just wait. That, and then gradually, like you want to have this physical enjoyment, oh, wait till you get married, wait, don't get too, hasty about it, wait till you get into wedlock so that it will be smooth for you and so forth. So, that is how gradually those things then get changed, that okay, getting married is for enjoyment. No, it is not for enjoyment, but controlling the enjoyment instinct by providing it some restricted channel. Okay, only with this person you will have your relationship, and that too with some divine understanding about it. So there is the religious ceremony. In all religions you will see there is a ceremony to instill that spirit, that okay, get married, but it is not just for enjoyment, to uplift your awareness through various divine associations. So this thing has been elaborated by him, and then forgetting their ever-free divine nature, human beings run after external sense objects, considering them to be sweet and delightful. How many people are capable of understanding that every pleasure in this world is eternally connected with pain, and that if one wants to enjoy pleasure, one must also accept pain? There is, we experience this but yet forget the pain part. Only the pleasure part gets remembered, and then again and again we run after it. Again and again we get frustrated, and then we say, why did I go to do that? But it is, if you have this a religious association to it, gradually you will remember, no, this is not the goal. Let me turn my life to a higher direction. So, if the mind considers the positives and negatives of a particular sense object before enjoying it, the mind will definitely give it up. We go for enjoyments only because we do not think the pros and cons. It is if we think those, nobody will go to have that enjoyment. It is because the joy is within. You don't need object to become joyous. It is such a clear idea that it is. Let me remind you of that story of that Rabia, that Sufi saint Rabia. She had her other colleague, both were doing spiritual practice, and then that person got a little disgusted, tired, and said, "Oh my goodness, no, I am getting terribly bored. I need some happiness. Let me go to that music and dance program there. There is a music and dance going on. Let me go there. That will bring happiness." When he comes back, he saw Rabia looking for her that ring in the courtyard. It was kind of dusk, dark, so he said, "Let me bring a lamp." And then both started looking, and in that courtyard they looked every nook and corner of it, didn't find it. And then Rabia's friend became suspicious. He asked, "Are you sure that you dropped in this courtyard?" And Rabia said, "No, no, I have kept it inside the room." And then why have you been searching here? Then she retorted, "Did you keep happiness there in that dance program there? That you went to get it from there?" It is, we have not kept any happiness there, out there. And yet we go. No object has any happiness. That is why it brings only frustration. So it is in fact going in the opposite direction. The happiness is here, and I think that if I get that, then that will make me happy. I try to go there. I am going in the opposite direction, and thus I miss all happiness. So that is how, if we think, then nobody will go for enjoyment. The point that is being stressed is, although we call ourselves very intellectual and thoughtful people, isn't it, Vishwanath? We are very thoughtful and very intelligent, yet we do not think on about this, and thus where there is frustration and misery, we go there for getting happiness. So this is how it is. The happiness that comes, we are expected to come out of non-discernment. Discernment, that is Sanskrit called Viveka. Therefore we have Vivekananda, you see. Vivekananda, where everything is discernment, would not get trapped in any so-called enjoyment, would stand in the midst of what is called all the enjoyments around, but will not feel any desire, because that that discernment is constantly present there, that there is no joy that comes from there. I add joy to that. That's it, It is no joy actually is there. So, Saradananda Swami points it out that he told about that everything is just uh, five elements. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Master said, listen, one should discriminate between real and unreal. Always endowed with discrimination, one should talk to one's mind in this manner. You, mind, are eager to enjoy various objects, to eat this thing, to put on that thing, and so on. You see, potatoes, vegetables, rice, lentils, and so on are produced from the five elements, and again those sweets, sandesh, rasgulla, and other delicious sweets are made from the same five elements that made a beautiful body consisting of same bones, flesh, blood, and marrow made your body as well. And so all bodies of men, cows, goats, sheep, and so on. Why do you crave such things and even die for them? They cannot help you to attain God. If the mind is still not convinced, enjoy something a couple of times with discrimination. Eating, say, rasgulla, and you are helpless to bring it under control. There is a desire, I must wait, I must have it, and the discernment is not working at all. The discernment is getting all overpowered by that force of attraction. Now, what technique is to be used? What is to be done now? Okay, Sri Ramakrishna gave his own example. I had a desire to eat rasgulla. So got a few rasgulla. It is, and then put one or two in mouth and rolled them inside the mouth. And while doing that, told my mind, hey, look, mind, have you seen what is this rasgulla eating? Nothing much. The same kind of food that you otherwise eat. It is, and its so-called sweet taste is only from the till it goes down the throat. Then all the sweetness is gone. Only the hard work of digesting that thing remains. So he said, Oh mind, why did you have such desire? See, fire upon you to get such desires. Okay, once you had, now remember, don't have any such desire. So he says that while if you cannot control the tremendous upsurge to have an object, okay, have the object, and while enjoying it, so-called enjoyment, discern, make a discrimination attempt. Is it real? Is it actually going to give me happiness? Isn't it same as many other things? Why should I have this kind of imbecilous desire? It is so gradually, if you keep on doing it sincerely, it has to have that sincerity about it. Then the desires will go down. You will not be then attacked by the desires, because you know that it is only all the common material that we have, that's about it. And then why should I get in the bondage and frustration? No, mind, no, I don't have to go after such things. And thus it develops gradually a spirit of renunciation. So in marriage also, if one keeps on this spirit of discernment, then you see the desires will uh, just get over by a person giving rise to this idea that, well, I have to spend my days now in realizing God. That is the reality. All these objects that I have been running after, what are they after all? They are putting me to more misery. They don't bring me any enjoyment. So knowing this, the mind starts giving it up. So this is the way to go about it. Then there are more descriptions about it. Although the scriptures have described the high ideal of marriage, how many people remember or follow it at present? How many married people make themselves and society blessed by sincerely practicing continence? How many wives inspire their husbands to dedicate themselves to the well-being of all, let alone realize God? How many husbands teach their wives that renunciation is the goal of human life after realizing themselves? So, this is how this ideal, like many ideals, without an actual demonstrations, they go down, they are no more practiced, and thus they are forgotten totally. It is like this. For renunciation, one takes up this idea of marriage, where you will get some enjoyment. But the thing changes, that so marriage is for enjoyment. It is like we have examinations at school, exams. So what is an exam? Just think about it. An exam means just to understand how much you have learned. So you study and learn. Study is for learning, not for passing an examination. But things get all turned on head, that my examination is coming up, so let me study. Isn't it meaningless? It is the examination or test is just to see how much you have learned. For the examination you don't study, but you study for learning. That is how we cook rice, for example. This is just an example. And then whether it is cooked or not, Punita presses one rice grain and just to see whether it is cooked or not. Does she cook rice just for that or for eating? Not that, hey, it is all cooked, come on, let me throw it now. No, it is being cooked for eating. This pressing is a test, an examination whether it is cooked or not. But just for that examination, do you cook the rice? No. So, similarly, this is as you practice continence, you see that marriage is for that practice, for realization of God. It is, one has to gradually get over it, these tendencies, unless you want to continue the sufferings. So, this is how Sri Ramakrishna, therefore, that and then this is the concluding para of this particular discussion. The master used to say, whatever is done here, meaning by him, is meant for you all. Look, if I do 16 parts, You may possibly do 1/16th. He said in Bengali, there is that coin, the rupee, the currency, even now it is a rupee. And those days it used to be divided into 16 parts, each used to be called one anna. So he said, if I do the whole rupee, you may do maybe one anna. If I myself do little, very little, then you will do much less. So therefore, I am showing the highest ideal, that you get married but without any desires. You see that the husband and wife live a life of devotion to God, live a life of this pure spiritual awareness. It is simply, a great story in spiritual life, unprecedented, that Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother lived together, slept together for 6 months. Holy Mother spent all her whatever service to be done to Sri Ramakrishna, she used to do. And Sri Ramakrishna also supported her in every possible way, very connected two persons without any expectation of enjoyment from each other. That is a unique, 100% spiritual marriage. Now Sri Ramakrishna says, if I have done 100%, then you will do at least 1%. That is why the ideal is shown 100% by Sri Ramakrishna, so that you will be able to follow at least a little part of it, and thus you will be a husband and wife, all will be, together helping each other to go beyond the desires. So this is the purpose of Sri Ramakrishna's marriage. So after having the ultimate vision of the Divine Mother, his divine ecstatic state became normal to him, and he brought his young wife to Dakshineshwar. He saw in his wife the veritable manifestation of Divine Mother and worshipped her as the goddess Shodashi. And that is a tremendous incident. It is unique in all the spiritual history of mankind. That is why Romarola, the French biographer of Sri Ramakrishna, writes that here is a man who in 50 years lived the 50,000 years of human spiritual history. So it is, he showed everything, that you can live together without having any desire. That he worshipped Holy Mother as the Divine Mother, Sarada Devi. His wife was, he always had that worshipful spiritual awareness about her. But one day he demonstrated that by worshipping her on a Kali Puja day. He worshipped her as Divine Mother. That is called Shodashi Puja. That description of that is will be following, that the This is page 468. When the Holy Mother later reminisced about the period when the Master lived with her in Dakshineshwar, she would tell the women devotees, quote, "It is impossible to describe his spiritual moods in those days. In a God intoxicated state, he would sometimes say things that were incomprehensible to me, sometimes laugh, sometimes weep, and sometimes remain motionless in samadhi like a corpse. The whole night would pass that way. What a divine presence! My body trembled in fear, and I eagerly awaited the break of the day. At that time, I knew almost nothing about samadhi. One night, his mind did not come down to the ordinary plane of consciousness for a long time. Afraid, I cried and sent for Hriday, that nephew of Sri Ramakrishna. He came and repeated the Lord's name into Master's ear for a while. Only then did the Master regain a normal state of mind. When he came to know of my fear and anxiety, the Master taught me various mantras and told me how to use them for different kinds of samadhi. Thus I slowly got rid of my fear and also became successful in bringing his mind down from samadhi. But as I never knew when he would go into samadhi, I would stay awake all night. Several days passed in this manner. When he realized my plight, he asked me to sleep in the Nahabat, the adjoining room there. The Holy Mother said that the Master trained her in all domestic matters, such as how to place a wick in the lamp. It is very interesting. This man, God intoxicated, would not know anything around, whether he has cloth on his around his body or not. That also he would be just unaware of. But then when he is not in samadhi, he was so particular and would do everything so meticulously, and taught his wife all this, how to put the wick properly in a lamp, and so many such things, that it is that so it is the Sri Ramakrishna never ran away from his wife. That it is not a spiritual, so-called spirituality where you say that, oh, if the woman is near, then all my spiritual practice will be lost. No, not for Sri Ramakrishna. He lived with wife, associated with her in every possible way, and yet no even the slightest touch of enjoying came there. It was so much that divine relationship. So to demonstrate this, that this is the ideal of marriage, Sri Ramakrishna entered into matrimony so that for this large part of humanity, almost all humanity, he presented this ideal, that how one can, while living a householder's life, practice continence and thus get over one's own carnality, the physical addictions. They gradually one then gets over the idea that I am body, and you merge in that divine awareness. So Sri Ramakrishna, to set this example before everyone, and did this, took up this marriage. So this is how the paragraph concluded. It is, but in the present day, Sri Ramakrishna has demonstrated that ideal for your benefit. This is the first time in the world's unique pure mold of marriage has been made by lifelong severe austerity and sadhana. As the master used to say, cast your life in that ideal mold and shape it accordingly. It is when a mold is made, then everybody, their thing can be put in that mold and get that same shape. So it may not be it may not serve as a mold, but Sri Ramakrishna's life serves as a mold. Our lives may not be serving as molds, but coming out of that mold, they will gain that understanding about spiritual illumination. So, this is the great secret about it. So, then somebody said that, well, why then did he not produce a child with Holy Mother, Sarada Devi? Just to show this, give an example to this world. Now, the author says that it is we must tell you that Swami Vivekananda's remark about our spiritual practices, it is Sri Ramakrishna did 100%. This is a nice incident mentioned, and that Sri Ramakrishna's disciples were practicing tremendous spiritual these austerities and all that. And then Swami Vivekananda remarked, looking at all of them, that do you think by this you will become Sri Ramakrishna? No, no. He was just his own class, a different genre. It is, you can't become that, but you can put your life in that mold so that you will be spiritually illumined. And it is, this is how that, but Sri Ramakrishna wanted to present this ideal 100%. And so he did not enter into any physical contact and thus did not produce a child, a biologically connected child. It is next time we shall think about Sri Ramakrishna's this understanding about these things, about having a biological child. So it was just impossible for him to even associate himself with a body, identify himself with a body. It was just impossible for him. So we shall take up that study in our next class. Any questions about today's discussion?
There's a question. So I tried to learn, but
Yeah.
So he says that I try to learn, but I feel that I have to pass a spiritual examination, but I cannot internalize these things. So how do I make God my own?
Well, the question is probably quite tough. I don't get the question. Can you repeat? Let me.
Yeah. I try to learn, but I feel that I have to pass a spiritual examination, and I don't internalize these things. How do I make God my own?
Ha! Well, it is the idea is therefore what that person said, I can't internalize. It is to main thing is to learn to internalize, uh, to learn to see that the exam is to see how much you have learned. So the you passing spiritual exam is of two types, internal and external. That it is give an internal exam, and then if one is not able to get into it, give an external exam. But that is, know that you are not studying, you are not practicing just to pass the exam. One has to give the exam, okay, but do not study, do not practice just to give the exam. Also, there is the meaning of this exam is also to be studied in the light of what one is looking for. It is not that you have to get married and see how you can live the life like Sri Ramakrishna with your spouse. That is meaningless. It is your very desire that, okay, let me get married to practice, that shows that there is the real guiding desire is different, although it is getting masked by the spiritual practice. So therefore you have to see what exam will be able to establish. Like everything has different exams. Spiritual examinations are like how much your meditation continues in various circumstances. Like you are practicing, yeah, but expand that practice. Just not that you are sitting in one place and are meditating and are to some extent able to meditate. Does that meditation enter into your other activities or not? That will be a good examination. This is an examination. It is not one examination as such, but like in many schools, just to keep the students constantly studying, they have every week a test. So this is in every activity, try to test if your spiritual awareness remains or not. Like while say a simple activity, if you are cooking, whether your spiritual awareness remains then or not. It is, or when you are interacting with other person, whether your spiritual awareness remains or not. That is, can you see that person as an expression of God? Then that is, these are very good tests. When you are, say, eating some food stuff that you love immensely, a delicacy, while eating, if you can remember that the same divine is in here and there. That is why, that is one reason, that we recite a particular mantra before taking any food to tell ourselves that what is here is also in the food. Both are the same. So, that is the exam that one has to give. And every exam will test us as to how much more we have to study, how much more practice we have to do. Thank you. Yes, Abhijit.
So this reason about why Saradananda thinks that was the reason for his marriage, Sri Ramakrishna never gave this reason, right? That this is why this is.
He gave this reason himself, yeah. See, Sri Ram, this is another point that Sri Ramakrishna giving this reason is very difficult for Sri Ramakrishna to use these words, that he never assumed that to teach people I do like this. And that kind of that ego I would never enter in him. So therefore he would say in different ways the same thing, and this is the special feature of this biography, that the particular attitude, the mood with which Sri Ramakrishna performed different actions, that has been brought out along with events and the mental get-up of Sri Ramakrishna, the mood with which those actions were performed, they became then both together understood. Otherwise, those events, they become just meaningless. That is how so many who just could see the events, they considered Sri Ramakrishna as an insane person, because they could not find any motive that normally people associate with those actions, and therefore it is quite natural to consider if a person is doing some actions without any motive that we can understand, then naturally you think that something is wrong there, that person needs help. So it is therefore Sri Ramakrishna's intentions behind those actions have been brought out here. How the marriage was just happened in his life as a matter of this divine plan.
Yeah, so oftentimes it seems like Sri Ramakrishna was not consciously taking decisions, but like as you said, the divine plan.
Yeah, exactly. There is no conscious. See, we are accustomed. In fact, we cannot think better than that. That I consciously think, and that is what I should do. Consciously think, because there is a prominent I and the world awareness. So I have to do that. Which Sri Ramakrishna, that I is just like a shadow. There is no really I there. So therefore for him making a plan like that was impossible. That also is the Swami Saradananda has tried to bring out. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. Coming Sunday, we have a special lecture here by one professor at Brown, Prashant Tapal. The poster is put there and some other places inside. He is a scientist and professor at the Brown University's Public Health Department, and is a very good devotee. So he is giving a lecture on that our mind as the interface between the inner and the outer world. So it would be very interesting. I was talking to him just a little while ago, and he was telling about what he plans to tell. So please come. And on coming Thursday, like last Thursday, I will be giving another next part of the uh, Durga Saptashati lecture in the local Hindu temple at Warwick. The Hindu temple at Warwick, the lecture is from 6:30 to 7:30, and you can join that. So with that, and the retreat is there, that you all know. If you want to join the spiritual retreat, please register as soon as you can. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.